Ojukwu was the one that breaks that all important agreement. Because from what I have learned from the history, especially as you put it here, also looking at what Aburi was supposed to achieve, I believe Nigeria as it was then was completely in a mess. In fact, Nigeria was dead as a country, and the only thing that was to bring Nigeria back to life was this Aburi Accord. So in essence, what I'm trying to highlight is that the last effort to bring back Nigeria and redirect Nigeria, not actually to break Nigeria, was supposed to be the Aburi Accord. Because why I'm saying this is that a lot of people that are against Aburi Accord were saying that it was because it was meant to break Nigeria, right, to bring Nigeria together. But I believe it is the other way around. It was meant for people to come together and live with less suspicion and less fear and still forge on together. That was what it's meant to do, not to dismember Nigeria, but rather to bring Nigeria together. Do you agree with that assessment that Aburi was to bring Nigeria together rather than to disintegrate Nigeria? Thank you.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. It was the last resort. Some people call it the last bus stop. In fact, if it wasn't for the military, those young soldiers, these guys they were in their 30s, by the way, the Jukus and the Gawans and so on. Because they trained together, they went to Ghana together in their training, they went to Sandhurst together and all that. They've been outside and they know each other. They're on first basis. They didn't have to go for any thinking about people voting for them. They had to sit down as military disciplined officers and with sincerity and realism and what will work in Nigeria. And that is the significance. What they come up with is what they think would work in Nigeria. And we have, they made sure this was recorded. So it's not something who said what and whenever. So it was recorded and they had the courage to go through the essential problems pressing them. So you're absolutely right. It was the last bus stop. You can imagine you're trying to breathe back life into something that's already died. So Aburi was, if you like, what they call the spirit of Aburi, was to bring back life into the body of Nigeria. And you and I know when that spirit didn't enter back into the body, the whole thing collapsed. That's where we are today. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Justice. Dr. Tino has a question before you go ahead to the next part. If she could kindly ask her question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Wanda Chichi. I want to make sure that we tighten all the loose ends, because when we're speaking about this, I want you to see the whole process. I want you to create an image in your mind where a country as big as Nigeria, as they said then, has now gone down into utter chaos, at least for us who lived in the east. And now we're being chased from across Nigeria. I want you to remember that at this point, about 20,000 people have died. 20,000 Easterners have died at the hands of the northern, whoever they were, police, militia, whatever they were killing our people. And at this point also, about, not 20,000, 30,000 people had been killed. And at this point also, 50,000 people have been wounded. Like the description of the wounded man that was seen at Enugu train station. Many people came back down to the east looking like that, with knife cuts and bullet wounds and all kinds of things. 50,000 of them. 30,000 already killed. And Dr. Okachi always reminds us that they stopped killing our people when there was no more Nyamiris in the north and west to kill. I want this to be seared into your mind, because this, every time I hear him say that, I just shake my head like I want to shake it off, but it doesn't go off, of course. Because can't wrap your mind around the fact that they continued killing our people until there was no one found to be killed. So most of us have been killed, the rest of us have been chased away, and if you are still in the north, nobody saw you, because you must have hidden somewhere where nobody can ever see you in public. That's what I wanted to add at this point, Chichi, before we continue. Because when we move into the conference itself, I want you to keep in mind that the Easterners were already fed up. And as we also know, there were protests in the East trying to say, get us out. This is utter rubbish that we are associated with people who are trying to kill us. There was no trust left. Thank you very much.
Indeed, Dr. Tina, thank you so much for that information. We'll have Mazi Sam's hand up. Please, Mazi Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, all the speakers. Dr. Justice, you just mentioned, the background that you gave towards this discussion is so it's very overwhelming, because about the lady that was carrying the dead body, or the head of her child. I remember reading a novel. It's the standing child, the standing boy of Nagasaki. This young boy was carrying the dead. This young boy was carrying the body of his dead younger brother, and the U.S. military man said to him, isn't he heavy carrying the dead body of his brother? And he said to the U.S. man, to the U.S. military officer, that he is not heavy. He is my brother. Can we kind of cast our mind to a woman carrying the dead body of her own child heading back to the east? That really shows a whole lot of determination within the Biafrans, the Igbos as a whole, the resilience that happened there, the unconditional love that basically that you could really see from the woman's, I could vividly picture the woman's body language as to how she could cope with that, which to me is like, wow, we have a whole lot of brave men and women during this time. But the Abori Accord, like as Dr. Onyeka said, for everyone to have their way, but you've already responded, it wasn't, because the other party were not there for peace. They were there to see how they can crush the spirit that is in us, but they couldn't, and they still haven't. And I think this is something that we Biafrans would, have to continue to carry as we are carrying it now. That's just the only thing I wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi Sam. Well appreciated. Mazi Abasi, you have a question for Dr. Justice. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My question is, what are the...
Mazi Abasi, can you hear us?
No, it's a radio host.
Yes. Yeah, he's here. He can hear us.
Okay. My question is... when we talk about Gowon returning home and reneging on what was agreed in Aburi, I want to know what are the specific things that was agreed. maybe on item by item, if possible, what are the specific things that were agreed upon during the Aburi Accord, and what were the specific actions that he took, upon return, or when he returned to Nigeria, to show that this particular action, contradict this particular aspect of the agreement. Because a lot of people think that it's just a slogan when we say that he reneged. So I wonder if we can bring it to life, specific things that was agreed upon, of which he reneged on upon return, and the action that he took that shows that he did renege on this particular item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take one more question and then we'll get on.
We have two hands up, Mazi and Jidofo. Do you want to take the last two, sir, please?
Take them before I go back in to talk.
Okay, thank you. Mazi, please.
Yes, my question is a brief one. We are talking about the atrocities committed against the Biafrans who were living in the north. I would also like to know, or also we tell the world, was there any reported atrocity committed against the northern people living in Biafra land by Biafra people? So it appears that all these atrocities we are all talking about were committed against the eastern indigenes. So to balance the argument, I have never heard or read in any book any reported atrocity that the eastern part of the country committed against the northern part who were living in our own region. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mazi. Mazi Jidofo.
Okay, thank you so much for giving me this very opportunity. The question and also contribution that I want to add to it is, we are heading to Aburi Accord. What led to Aburi Accord? And the Aburi Accord should be an agreement which was not carried on. So before the Aburi Accord, Mazi, I get to understand that before the Aburi Accord, which is Aburi Peace Talk, there has been several attempts to make peace in Nigeria, which if such peace could be able to, if such peace holds, there will not be any need for Aburi Accord. And Excelency took such step. So I want to ask in this very point, how should I put it, what does the Decree 34 says? Mazi, I would like you to educate us about the Decree 34 of the northern leaders who assured the Igbos that nothing is going to happen anymore among their people, which Ojukwu reassured the citizens who fled to the east to go back, and after that they got killed. So Mazi, I would like you to highlight on that very point where Excelency made this step. Is he making this step for his own personal again, or is he making this step to introduce or to bring peace into the country before we continue to move towards Aburi Accord? Thank you.
Okay, I think we need to get going today, because otherwise we'll not finish.
I was going to ask a question.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Why not? Go ahead.
My question is very simple.
Yeah.
I want to know the role or the place of the West African region or African Union into this Aburi conference. Was the Abuja Accord, did it have the support of OAU, or was Ghana trying to nip in the bud crisis brewing in a neighboring state, knowing that a spillover, like they said, will be too much for the sub-region? Thank you.
Okay, these are all great questions. I'm grateful for all these questions. I'm going to go very, very quickly in answering them. So, think about a lady who had the pain of having to carry in a basket, in a suitcase, the head of the child. If you read Chimamanda's The Rising Sun, when she wrote, she did it in a different way, more fictional. If you read her book, she said there's a lady who was carrying a basket and hugging the basket. When you open the basket, you see the plaited hair of the head of her daughter. So it was so graphic. When I read it, I cried, because that is actually, she called it emotional truth, using fiction, to tell what actually happened to his people. Chimamanda researched, spoke to anybody who she can speak to about what actually happened, and she put it in a book. If you read the book, you understand it more, although it's fictional. Now, so that answered the degree and the extent of the killing, that you just have to picture, show me to paint the graphics. Someone has been killed, and they put their body in the train. Can you imagine human beings, everybody put it in the train, and that train is supposed to go and be seen by other human beings? What kind of human beings do that? Okay? Now, I need to point out to you that the killings were targeting people from the east, because the Yoruba emirs the Yoruba Obas went to the emirs in the north to thank them for not killing the Yoruba people. Okay, so as we discuss Aburi, remember the pain was targeted on the Easterners. There were also Yoruba people in the north. No one touched them. Okay, so you need to bear that in mind. And there was, I just want to answer, Ned asked me a question about, I've forgotten what he said. Is it Easterners or Ned? What was that question you asked about Easterners? Just primary.
I said that, do we have any
I've got it. The people, the northerners living in the east when all this killing was going on, remarkable thing happened. There was a radio broadcast in the north that said the people in the east are being killed. The northerners in the east are being killed by the Igbos. That triggered more killing in the north, when in fact it was a false propaganda. So what Ojukwu did, Ojukwu speaks English more than the English. He speaks Yoruba, he speaks Hausa, he speaks Igbo. He got the northerners living under his control and spoke to them in plain Hausa, that he's going to have to help them to leave the eastern region. He provided police escort. Some took train. They were even driven to the Asaba end of the River Niger Bridge under police escort. They were guided out of the eastern region. So the northerners can turn and say, oh, they killed our people too. If there was a scuffle or one or two died, it would be regrettable, but they were actually protected by the Eastern region government, in spite of their people being massacred in the north. Not once, not twice, not 66, so many times. Okay, so to answer that question, I hope that's helped. Now, the other one which Delpha answered about Decree 34. Decree 34 was what Excellency was proposing to unify the whole country. The military has taken over after the coup by Nzogbu and the ones in the south, which was a failed coup. So Excellency, who is the head of the military, emerged as the person now who wants to bring stability and peace in Nigeria. So he said, okay, what we're going to do now is to unify the whole country under one command, military command. So in civil service, we're all going to now speak with one voice and do what you're asked to do by fiat. Yeah? Remember, Nigeria has always been governed by those in the north and those in the south, separate. They didn't have the same administration. So the northerners, politicians, feared that the civil service would be swamped by the clever, educated people from the south. So they weren't going to have it whatsoever. So say, we're not going to be united. So Irensi must go. Irensi, they started campaigning against him because if they kept quiet, then they think the civil service will be swamped. Remember, they're trying to get rid of Igbos who have taken their jobs, they think. So they didn't want unity in the country. They were actually going to secede. And by killing Irensi in July 69, in July 29th July 1966, it was an Araba coup. The idea is a separation coup. People in the Lagos, all the northerners have sent their families by plane to fly them to the north. Yeah? Because when they had the coup, they killed the Igbo officers, started killing everybody. The idea is to destroy Nigeria and pack their things and go to the north. The Brits, as you know, went and convinced the emirs, where are you going? You can't leave Nigeria now. After all, you got the power. You now in charge of the whole country. So why are you leaving? And if you leave, the southerners, the Igbos will have the oil. So, and one by one, the British High Commissioner, Comyn Bruce, was able to persuade all the emirs to change their mind and stay in Nigeria. So the coup they did was to get rid of everyone and then move to the northern Arewa Republic. They had the flags flying, thing, and was turned down. So that was the background of Irensi then issuing, when he issued Decree 34, it hurt them so much because he wanted to integrate the country. And that Decree 34, he then has to start going from one region to another to try and pacify them. He went to the north, they wanted to kill him. They were advised, don't kill him in the north, don't kill him in the north. They waited till he goes to the west. So when he got to Ibadan, that's where they killed him, because he was talking to chiefs and elders and tried to pacify them to unite the whole country. So that is Decree 34, which immediately when Gowon came into power, because the Decree 34 said, from now on, Federal Republic of Nigeria is abolished. You're now a Republic of Nigeria. You're no longer in regions, but you're in provinces. So you declare them all to all be province. And they didn't like it at all. So they started killing the right away it took them through about 3 to 4 days. The decree was passed on 24th of May, 1966. By 29th of May, they started killing. 20,000 were killed in May alone. And then, because we had a central government under Irensi, he sent a troop to go and stop them, which Gowon didn't do. Okay, so they were stopped. And then Ojukwu was saying, okay, this is the last sacrifice, you can all go back now. And when they went back and Irensi was killed, there's no more safety valve. So more of them were killed, they all rushed back. So that's where we are now. Now, to answer the last question, which is Irensi's role of West Africa. Well, you'd be happy to know that when the Aburi Accord started, Ojukwu proposed that the minutes and everything about the meeting at Aburi be deposited in the OAU vault. So for the whole African countries, then it's called OAU, not AU, Organization of African Unity. They wanted them to be involved, okay, in the midst and the goings on of this Blue Accord. But what happened? The Nigerian delegation said, no, this is an internal affair. We do this and we cannot have our own problems. So they declined that Mazi and they declined to allow other countries in Africa be involved in the Aburi Accord. I hope that's answered most of your questions. I've forgotten any.
Justice, thank you so much. Let's go to Aburi Accord proper. That will answer Mazi Obasi's question, which is what was agreed in Aburi. What was agreed in Aburi? So if we go straight to Aburi, and that will answer Mazi Obasi's question. Thank you.
Mazi Obasi, I've got a list for you of what they actually agreed to, and therefore we then go and see which one we could, and so on and so forth. People, so we're now in Aburi itself. We arrived. I'm just going to send the picture again. The governor, the general who's managing Ghana, welcomed them and means tight security. Okay, he sat them down. They had the table. Nobody's the chair of the table. They're all co-chair men. If you understand what that means, he said, "There's no chair. Everybody needs to sit down and think about this problem and solve it." So he was an African, if you like, a father to them, encouraging them to resolve this problem. Okay? So, and before that, you need to know who actually were the conference, isn't it? The members that are present was Lieutenant Colonel representing the East, Lieutenant Colonel David Ejo representing who is the Army headquarters in Lagos, who claiming to be the supreme head, okay? Then you have Lieutenant Colonel Hassan Katsina, who was the military governor north. You had a full Colonel Robert Adebayo, who was the of the west. And then from the day you have Commodore J.E. Way, okay, W-E-Y, he's the Commodore, he's more senior officer to all of these people so far. Then you have Major Muraji, who was administering Lagos, the Lagos administrator. You have the police people, Alhaji Khan Salim, who is the Inspector General of Police, and his deputy is the General Police called Omo Barry, Mr. Omo Barry. Of course, you have Ankara, who is chair on the occasion. Ankara is the one who's running the whole of Ghana as the Ghana National Liberation Council, who took over from Nkrumah. In addition to the people I mentioned, Aburi also, these different regions took their secretaries, right? Number one is Adubusu, who's the secretary for the West. You have Aban, who is the secretary for the East. You had Lawani, who is the secretary for the Midwest, and Ali Akilu, who is the secretary for the North. And then you have a permanent undersecretary of the Federal Cabinet Office, the one who's over like a super permanent sec, S.I. Akinzu, who became Oba later on. Okay, so those are the people present. It wasn't just Ojukwu and Gowon. There are lots of people there, and their secretaries, everyone, if you want to, you went to Oxford, but so did Akinzu. So they said to other people, in other words, they're all trained under us. These are military officers, okay? So they can read and write English, and they knew what happened. The interesting thing was, so Ojukwu was so bright, he killed the composing logic. They had to listen to what he was speaking Oxford. But hold on. Before they went to the meeting, they had a dinner for the meeting. So every corner of those who were represented knew what they were going to talk about, and they agreed to it before they had meeting. So you can't then turn around and say, Ojukwu was putting them to say there, and so on. Okay, so they had, if you like, an agenda which was sent to everybody before the meeting started. Okay, so that is interesting. Now, as the meeting started, I just give you an idea, and then we go into the list. As the meeting was that Ankara told them to be open. Please talk your mind. Just say the way it is. No beat about the bush. I implore you, said, forget the past. Once you are this table, this rounded, because there are no hair to tail, we can feel that when we finish from here, we should have no cause whatsoever to regret. So they shouldn't leave this table things to forget about. They need to restore the peace. So when you finish acknowledging them, encouraging them to make this peace work, Gowon spoke next. And he said, shall we thank you all together? So they all clapped and thanked the general, who then got out of the way for them to start their conference. So just give me the background I started. I've got a book called The Verbatim, line by line report of what happened in me. Now, Gowon did next and said, what was the agenda? Just to remind you, there was an agenda before they came to the meeting. The business about Ojukwu with his advisors and the other people were not prepared. Well, why were they not prepared? They had a couple of agenda, okay? And the purpose of the meeting. So they all agreed that they got it. So Ojukwu spoke next and said, the agenda is completely acceptable to me. So Ojukwu accepted the modified agenda, and then the talk started, okay? So the first thing that happened, and this was Ojukwu reminded them that they've been buying weapons. Okay, so the ambassador in Italy and France, told the Ojukwu that look, this is what's happening. The Nigerian government is buying weapons from Italy. Yeah? The tune of million or 8 million or whatever million, and the Ojukwu confronted them and said, "Why you must use this Aburi Accord to hide, under the cover of it and hide? They used to build up arms." That's to tell them straight. You shouldn't be using it to pile up arms and we compete. So can you explain why all these weapons were bought and being stored in Kaduna? Hey, so that's an opening sentence. Yeah. So Gowon also heard that a plane crashed in the Bor Cameroon carrying weapons, and we think it was bound to anybody. So you can imagine, this is not a laughing matter. So it had to be frank and open to facts and say, this is what we thought was happening. So, end of that exchange, so one had we ordered these weapons before around July, and therefore is something when he was the chief of staff, he signed for it, and so on. So Ojukwu, after discussion, the idea was, okay, buying all these weapons, there are regions which also need it. So they agreed they're going to share the weapons to all the regions. I don't think Ojukwu got any. So that is just a background. But the most striking thing for me in that meeting was, before I tell you the list of what they decided, was somebody called Johnson, Mobolaji Johnson, who was in charge of Lagos. Yeah? He asked the most striking question. Okay, let me find it for you, and then you understand how the meeting went. When they carried on talking, so when the weapon thing was introduced, they decided they're going to renounce the use of force in settling the Nigerian crisis. That was the resolution 1. They're not going to use force, okay? They're not going to use force to settle Nigeria. We're going to observe a gentleman, not use force to resolve Nigerian problem. Now, Mobolaji Johnson then went and said what has said. He asked, says, my people, in his own dialect, as my people will say, as long as you have lice in your head, there will always be blood in your nails. So that's, like introduce idioms before they start speaking. So that's idiom he used. And he said, may I ask one question, gentlemen? Is there a central government in Nigeria? Yeah? Is there a central government in Nigeria today? So that is the crux of, that is when the whole conference turned on his head. Do we have a central government?
Dr. Frank, I'm so sorry. I think I raised my hand. I needed to interrupt you to say that what you're saying is just not a narration of some kind of meeting. But before the meeting happened, remember this was a surprise to especially the people in the East. that this meeting even occurred, because they worried about the death or danger that Ojukwu faced by interacting anywhere in the world, especially anywhere in the country, with the northerners, these other people. They were afraid that he was going to be killed. So when they heard, when they heard that he was already in Aburi and speaking to these people, panic took over the land.
Entirely, because they didn't expect to go and talk, because they thought when he goes to do what Nigeria did and ignore everything that has happened to them, they were actually suspicious that Ojukwu was talking on their behalf without them giving him permission. Can you imagine? So Ojukwu went there to seek peace, even though he was saying, we want to get out of Nigeria. Why are you talking peace? Enough of peace. We've had enough of their rubbish. We don't want any more peace. So Ojukwu went against them to go and settle. So it's a very point you made.
My apologies, I have to.
So I don't know if any of you appreciated all that. So Ojukwu going there wasn't because he wanted desperate. People didn't want him to go because, first of all, his security is important. That's why we have in Nigeria. If he doesn't back,
Close the door.
And they normally blame the person who's supposed to be the one you accuse. You have to blame the victim. So Gowon, who is the rebel who got into power because people came there who were carrying guns, turned it that Oju is now the rebel. Okay? And then he himself was the one who served the power. So I want you to bear that in mind. So now, against all this background, then they said, Gowon, you're going to be the commander. You're not going to be the supreme commander, but the commander-in-chief, meaning we're going to run Nigeria not as a dictator, as a one person, but as a collective. Because each region, north, east, west, and midwest, have governors. And governors need to come together and agree before we move on to do other things in the country of peace, to reign. So one's supposed to be the commander-in-chief, not the overall supreme commander, because you can't give order to people who are actually superior to you. The Western guy representing the West, his name is Colonel Robert Adebayo. He's a full colonel. Okay, and Gowon, a lieutenant colonel, is claiming to be supreme commander. So this is a dangerous thing, and you bring discipline into the army. Because if you can't have an order, okay, and a sergeant disobeys you, okay, because the sergeant is giving you an order. So the army is in a dangerous situation whereby a discipline has come into the army. So that is one of the main things the military looked at and to iron out, making Gowon supreme commander-in-chief as opposed to the supreme commander, because it would not work. So having agreed and settled, went on to talk about other parts. And I'm going to give you a list of what they decided for it to work, for Nigeria to work in Aburi. The first one is to restore this discipline I mentioned to you in the military. Okay, so they have Supreme Military Council, SMC, which will run the whole country. Okay, Gowon is the chairperson, is the chairman of that Supreme. So therefore, if you're going to make a decision, that decision needs to be agreed upon by all 4 regions. And they have to have it not only in Congress, they have to concur and agree for that to be passed, okay? The people said, Ojukwu disrespected Gowon. And you have to have a commander, supreme commander, and so that is the reason why there's some friction. So number 1, then, the military committee comprising representative region should to take statistics of arms and ammunition in the country. So they're storing these weapons in Kaduna. They need to send people to go and find out where these weapons are so they can allocate the stores of arms in other parts of the country, distributively. Okay? So we're talking now what to do in the country. The army should be reorganized in order to restore discipline and confidence. The army should be governed by medical council, as I mentioned, military council, as I mentioned, which will be chaired by a commander of the armed forces, and that person is then the head of the federal military government. Then there's something called area commands under each commanders and corresponding to existing regions. It's like the northern region have an area command. Western region have an area command. Midwestern area command. Eastern area command. And they're under commanders. Okay? And during the period of the military government, the military governors should have control over the area commands for internal security. So they're now clamoring for police, state police. This was discussed in Aburi, so that you can't have someone from somewhere else and killing people when you are the commander in that area. So the area you have to take charge of security and protect your people. So that was added in Aburi. The military headquarters, they said, comprising equal representatives from the regions and headed by a chief of staff should also be established. So when you have all these regions, you don't have people in the center representing all regions. And now a Lagos garrison, including Kenya Bar, should be created. So these are, for the military side of things, what to do. And then they went to, in accordance with the division on August 8th, when they desisted on August 9th, I think Dr. Sinamea mentioned it, person of the northern Nigerian origin to return to the north. Okay? They were camped in the west, so they want them to return to the north. In order to meet the security needs of the west, a crash program with them recruitment, the west didn't have a military to recruit so many people to man the west because they need to have their own army. Then the Supreme Council should deal with all the matters of policy, including the top executive and armed forces. So the FC is running, so everybody's getting promoted, it will come from them. The legislative and the executive authority of the federal military government should be vested in the Supreme Military Council. And the decision to the whole country should be referred for determination, provided that where a meeting was not possible, each matter must be referred to the military governors for their comments and concurrence. What that means is that you can't just decide what you're going to do without asking the person who's commanding a certain area. You've got to ask them permission. Even if you can't all meet, you need their concurrence and agreement. So otherwise, you're posing yourself on them. That will cause more friction. So that was decided. Now, when it comes to diplomatic council, they have to make sure that super scale, if you're going to be the ambassador of the Federal Republic, everybody has to agree. And it's at the Supreme Military Council that is done. There's a Juku decider, Mr. So is going to be the ambassador. It doesn't work because there'll be a suspicion from the other side. But the SMC need to sit down and we are choosing this guy to represent the whole country. And it says with the view of promotion, okay, mutual confidence things are needed to be passed. So they said because of what has happened since January 15th, all decrees, which I said earlier on, every decree which has been passed is now squashed, okay, and they are being repealed, and they should have cancelled January 21st. 1967. So in other words, what are decree 34, decree that started after January 16, which has so much problem, they went and cancelled them all. The permanent secretaries of all the Ministry of Finance, of all the government in the Federation should now convene within 2 weeks to consider ways and means of resolving the serious problem posed by these persons in the country. In other words, the permanent secretaries now need to meet together, decide how we're going to compensate those people who are running, who have left their jobs in the because of being killed. They're in a way, they need to be paid, they need to maintain their family. So these people need to meet the finance officers and decide how to pay them. And the displaced civil servants and corporate staffs, those who are still working. For example, if you work the railway, you're now finding yourself in the east. No one has paid them. They said they should be paid until the 31st of March, because that's the end of financial fiscal year. They should remain payroll of the government until the end of the payroll. But if they find it, that's fine. If they haven't found a job, then need to be paid until such time as they move on. We're talking about those who have left the East. So Juku is trying to find a way of sorting the lives of those who run away, over 2 million of them, who are working with government, receive their salaries since May. Okay? So how their family, how going to school and so on. So in the Abreu Accord, it was built in that these people should be paid. And what else did they discuss about? Now also to commit the police officer, the police commissioner to meet police in the West, Midwest and North to meet and discuss the process of recovering properties left behind by all these displaced people. Okay? So then the ad hoc committee for constitution should resume their talk because we need to get the military out of the barracks, out of the government and bring petitions back on the constitution that everybody agrees. So accepting a unanimous recommendation of September commenced and then later meeting in the military council. 11 thing they said, at least the next 6 months, Yeah, there should be a purely military government, and nothing should be done with the politicians. They're still angry with the politicians that got them in all this mess. So they don't want the politicians mixed with the military government for the next 6 months at least. And number 12, they said the deceased military leaders, we're not talking Excelency and his host, should be accorded full military honors due to them. So you can see the reason why they shouldn't be in there is Naburi. They're no longer saying that he's missing. Gawan then told Ojukwu in a closed door meeting that Excelency have died. Ojukwu knew, of course, they need to hear it from Gawan. So because if Excelency died, then Gawan have a vacancy. Start thinking about being the Supreme Commander or Commander-in-Chief. So that was earthed in Aburi Accord. So that they decided to their communique to now give military honors to those died, okay? And it's number 13, all government information media, yeah? All the talking everywhere should be restrained from making inflammatory statements and causing embarrassment to various governments in the Federation. In other words, there was a propaganda, particularly in the North, saying just go to the job of what is it they finish the job we started in the North. Stepping off their propaganda, they would go to the East and finish the job. They go to, and so on and so forth. They were told in Aburi, you're not allowed to make such inflammatory remarks. Then Ojukwu then should keep his order. Ojukwu to people in the East, the Northerners in the East, they should vacate. He gave them, as shown earlier, he escorted them out. He says, they asked Ojukwu in the Aburi to view that order, that non-Easterners should leave the Eastern region under constant review. They review them with a view to be lifted as soon as possible. In other words, if condition is now peaceful, we can allow people to return back to the East. Those they have vacated. Okay? Now, but there's no, I don't think allowing people to go back to the North because of what has happened. Now, finally, number 15. So the next meeting, the Supreme Military Council should then be within Nigeria at a venue to be agreed. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the lists of that they mentioned in Aburi. And a new thing came out, what they call the spirit of Aburi. It was an agreement, became an accord. So they went for peace, and accord is an agreement. So it was so peaceful that you can, I don't know, most would have seen a video on a call which showed Gowon and Ojukwu eating from the same plate. I don't think it was using a long spoon. But anyway, so Gowon was taking the meat and Ojukwu was in the rice. They were eating from the same plate after the Aburi Accord. So the long and the sum of it then is that the Aburi Accord restores what they call the spirit. They brought the spirit of Aburi into the Nigerian dying nation. Okay? And so there was the newspaper reported it as a possible permanent solution to the problem. This may work. But what then happened? Should I stop here? Because there's a list of things that they agreed at Aburi. And that is really where the whole thing began to unravel, because you have to understand the country to move on, they have to come up with all these plans. And they decided that is going to be the case. And surprise, surprise, recorded it. It was all recorded and stenographed so that nobody say misinterpreting what they found. So the whole thing recorded, and the secretaries looked through the communique and Ankara, the chairman, any objection? They say no. Are you sure? They read it again. No objection. Good. They all and they moved on. And according to Ojukwu, when they're going home, Mka with Ankara and Gowon, Ojukwu and Ankara put their hands together with Gowon and they prayed that, Ankara was so pleased, he said you should carry on. So Ojukwu said, I want permission that you be one that prays Gowon to be leader the head of the Nigerian government. Okay, so Buri, as a gentleman, the military, or if you like, the officers and gentlemen, are bound by their own words, and they're hoping to go back to Nigeria and salvage what is left of the country. So that is the Buri Accord before the whole thing fell apart. Better pause there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. We'll take some contributions and questions before we move on to what happened when they came back to Nigeria after. Can we have Mother Ida? She had her hand up here.
Well, thank you, Mother. Dr. Rose, question is, I just want to make it like infantilely clear that before the journey to the Buri and during the meeting that gave birth to the Buri Accord, there was no mention of disintegration of Nigeria. Because at the end of this conversation, you just mentioned that Ojukwu proposed the proposal to General Ankara, Yakubu Gowon should head the government of Nigeria. So does it mean that there was nothing at the back of the delegates from Eastern Nigeria that bore any traces of the birth of the nation of Biafra at the time, sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very pertinent question. At the time, Ojukwu, remember, those at home, before Ojukwu went to the conference, they were expecting Biafra to come, or Eastern region to pull away straight away. But Ojukwu went there and negotiated union with the rest of Nigeria. Okay? And what's going on there? We are still in Nigeria. We're still in Nigeria. Anyway, but Ojukwu, and he did celebrate because what was found, they're going to help those who have been displaced. There's not any, what things they said earlier on. Those who are displaced are going to be helped. Those who are still going to be brought back. And there are so many things you can't make a decision with involving the East. Up till then, they could. And so forth. So the Eastern region has not pulled away. It's still part of Nigeria, but has a greater autonomy. Meaning, they have an area command. Ojukwu is in charge of the north of the Eastern region, and he's in charge of the security of the people. He has to provoke. So no one goes and start killing them anymore. So killing has to stop. That is what Aburi achieved. You can't go to the east, and Ojukwu said, when you cross this line and enter the east, you are staying. Okay? So he achieved that in a way, so with more enhanced security and the way of carrying on in Nigeria until temper cools. There's a word they use that we need to stay slightly pulled apart, because if we come together and force ourselves to be one Nigeria, in the collision we will burn. Okay, so you have to separate slightly apart for them to cool off, and then when things normalize, they can come back and form their great nation, Nigeria. They all wanted to, but I'll let you and I know what happened. Go on. Thank you for that question. Any other question? Good. Because of time, we're going to come. So then what happened when he got back? He had his party. He enjoyed, he said that we think the day is over. But when Gowon got back, so the plan was Gowon would announce, this is what we achieved at Aburi. Remember, his grandma recorded everything, played and so on, the written notes and so on. They refused to give it to the African Union, as Mazi was asked. They kept it to themselves because it's an internal thing. Okay? So, what then happened was that the Eastern delegation got back to the East, Gowon and his delegation to their own way. Gowon was supposed to come up and tell nation, Nigeria, and said, we had a Accord, and the things we discussed, and so we agreed to. But Sunday, Ojukwu was waiting, Gowon is supposed to make an announcement. A day passed, 2 days passed. What's going on? So, and imagine people in the East, as Dr. Sina pointed out, what has happened? Nobody was saying anything. So Ojukwu went and explained to them, this is what happened in Aburi. Okay? And that is where the problem started unraveling. Ojukwu made the announcement first and told them this is what we achieved in Aburi, hoping that would calm everybody's nerves. 3 weeks later, 20 January 1967, 3 weeks after the meeting, okay, what happened? Gowon issued a press statement about the meeting and the decisions reached by the military leaders. The statement contained only decisions, mislead and catered versions of the official minutes of the meeting. So Gowon, on behalf of the Nigerian government, were bringing out the reasons or what they found in Aburi. He chopped it up and gave a misleading version and called the official minutes. The intention obviously was to deceive the public and the world at large. Okay? So the following, the protest by Ojukwu and the Eastern government, and then promised to release the full report of the proceedings of the meeting. Of course, you're going to release the full report, not your own. Some Ojukwu and the Eastern people welcomed it. That great idea. We're happy. On the condition that the report was published unabridged and unedited. So don't summarize it, just publish the whole minute. Don't try and comment on it, just give us verbatim what was discussed. Okay? So, he also volunteered, he also produced long phone records, of the proceeding, so the public, general public, not only read, but also hear the exact word of each participant at the meeting. And of course, Gowon then decided to give an edited, abridged version of Aburi proceedings, which is likely to mislead the public. So this is where those things are unraveled. 3 weeks into the Aburi Accord, if I just summarize what I just said, Gowon was able to say something and publish it, and this is what happened. You could tell these people, this is what we find in Aburi. Because one wasn't going to publish it, it kept quiet. What was happening apparently, Gowon was being talked to or advised by the super permanent sex, the secretaries, permanent secretaries, who were saying that he gave away too much to Ojukwu. Hey, what exactly did he give away? And that country is going to pull apart because he had real command. Yeah. So as a result of all that, there was some friction. Gowon then came and altered the whole minute. Chopped here, chopped there, made himself supreme commander, and start smuggling changes to the actual meeting, so that he now, however, because of the time constraint, he now has to declare a state of emergency in any region doesn't obey the central government. So that's where the whole thing fell apart. Okay, I'll stop there and take some questions.
Okay, Dr. Justice. Dr. Tina, please go ahead. You have a question.
I have a comment and then a question.
Okay.
The lesson, this critical point for IPU to really pay attention at this point. There are many lessons to be learned from what happened then to Ojukwu and the East with Gowon and the line Nigeria, so that we cannot afford. It is critically important that we do not repeat this mistake. The grammar records, the myths are not sent to a larger body in Africa. Nobody saw it except the men, and maybe, I don't think there were women, the men who were in the conference. And then they believed that everybody would go home and everybody would do the right thing because of the Aburi spirit. But on the 6th of, was it 6th of January? 6th of January.
Yes.
The 6th of January is when Ojukwu was really persuaded by the Easterners who were saying, what went on? What did you do? What happened? That somebody must remind about in this case. There's a song that we have in our archives that say, go on, Amaga Koko, Somebody needs to play that music because this man, go on, really acted like illiterate. Whatever he was claiming, he had fever, something happened to him, he lost his mind. In the meantime, he was in a coma short time and then revived himself to come back after 20 days to start saying things that were not allowed actually for him to say. Because in the book that we were using to understand this whole thing, that it says that Aburi agreement were decisions of Supreme Military Council, of the Supreme Military Council, which no one member of the council had power or authority to repudiate, modify. Any alteration of such decision must necessarily be made by the council itself, as a body. If one has subjected himself to a decision, the East would have recognized his government. This is what was already agreed because they had worry, they had good feeling, everybody agreed, even Ojukwu said in his experience, put their hands together and said, I will be glad to set you or whatever when we implement what we agreed on. So, but his modification of the agreement amounted to an assault of dictatorial power. So he wanted to take over. He didn't live the spirit that they came out of Abu with, that let's fix the problem, let's work together. That has to be the man on top telling everybody what to do. There's some that I must make at this point before I ask the question. Remember that the West didn't have enough military personnel to even man their own area. But do you know the same way they and every one of you should be looking at what's on YouTube and everywhere else. They're the ones busy rewriting, pulling down the authentic documents because we have been looking and we need to find why. And we cannot. And we wish that somebody will bring back the gramophone recording of the conference. But they're the ones changing the narratives. They're the ones now using this situation that one created then for their own advantage. I'm here to tell them that we still know the truth and we will abide by the truth. But this meeting, they all came out agreeing on one thing, but one then made himself a dictator to assume the power that he didn't have and say and subvert some of the things that were written. And now we have something totally different. And you know what this to our lives, the havoc that we call the genocidal war. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's very, very pertinent. Is understanding the mechanics and how they try to play it out. And indeed, unless good, and read up what has transpired, what you hear on social media is a distorted version. And go on, carry on playing that because the Juku is not around to counter all the rubbish he's saying. He had a fever. If you had a fever, what about the minutes of the thing? Didn't you minutes? You publish it full, not abridge it or try to fine tune it. Publish it as it is. And incidentally, the gramophone record is not just in the East that had it. The one has it. Why can't he play the gramophone record and let the whole world know what happened in Aburi? Okay, so these are the things for us to do. I know time is best. So answer some more questions and then conclude.
Yeah, Mazi has his hand up for a question.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to ask this question. My question is, before the statement, what happened in Aburi with hope against exception? Why do you say that? I said that because when government renegade on Aburi Accord, I still remember that he said he never knew Ojukwu. To me, he was an individual, was in a military uniform. He never knew Ojukwu took it serious. And I want to say this because it's a crowded deception. We are dealing with British Nigeria. You can say good morning and turn around next minute and say it is good evening. So my question to the lecturer is, have we learned enough? Are the people well informed about this? And what can we do to make sure that our people understand whatever British man says is the truth? Agenda of 1804 is still what is running today. So where do we place them? It's necessary for IPOB to understand this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's very fair to answer the question as you not want to forget. When you go in a paper, a document, and fight, you're right, we should have given it just African Union, should have given to the United Nations, other people for safekeeping. What do you do? We say, Adi Mama, okay? Because in no time, so what we have to do is that if ever we confront a situation, we don't just keep our own copy. We put a copy and give to every country on the planet. So they wouldn't go around and say they didn't know. Okay? So that is the key thing again from to trust them. Some people mentioned to me Takia. Have you heard of Takia? Yeah. So Takia is when people of the other faith, they give something, but they're willing to change their mind. Even on oath, they didn't really agree. They didn't mean it, which is what Mazi was saying. He didn't really he didn't really mean it. The country was falling apart. I told you the country had died. You killed a section of the country, and then expect them to come back, and you're different, telling them what they should and should not do, and you say they can go to hell basically because the time around you killed them. Okay, so that is Aburi. Aburi was really the last resort, and I know quickly ask the question. I say, was then the result of the people in the East? What did they then do that led to Biafra before the 30th of May? Okay, so one more question, then we'll go to that.
Okay, so Nika, please.
Okay. I just wanted to point out that Goman does not have a mind of his own. It's always pressured to do one thing or the other. Just as the book he wrote now, he was pressured to write it, and he wrote lies. And another thing that I read about Aburi is that there was going to be a Decree 8 that Goman issued to be used to implement his own version of Aburi, which not only Ojukwu rejected it at that time. The other governors too, from the West, the Midwest, all rejected that and stated that wasn't what they agreed. Because this is important to stress this. It's not as if it's not Ojukwu that said, oh, one said it's not what they agreed on. His other counterparts too, from the West, that is Lieutenant Colonel Deba and Lieutenant Colonel Edo, also said when Goman set out that decree 8 that this was what agreed Buri. I just wanted to make that fact known that it wasn't no Juku that said Goman again the fake version of Aburi.
Thank you very much. That's correct. Well done. I like that. So, one more. Could be hurry. There's a few minutes to go on.
Okay. Thank you, Thank you so much. It's a contribution that I want to make, and I want to draw back a bit. We have thought what led to the Aburi actually, which is agreement of peace, and the disagreement is we are. And Doctor, you pointed out the disagreement, what really happened. There are many things that led to the disagreement. And I want to go back to probably before the independence of Nigeria, when Dr. Nnamdi was fighting for Nigeria to be free. And there was multiple discussions during that period. And the big brothers of Nigeria, which are the British, I don't know how our people resisted them being make warrior. They chose the North to take control of Nigeria. And that very Aburi Accord, the reason why it was turned upside, I want us to think back into the British giving the northern North the power to take control of Nigeria. And at that point, Aburi is about past the intention of the British towards Nigeria as their own company. Because in that very Aburi, things like Mazi, Dr. Kashi have pointed out regarding chief commander and supreme commander-in-chief, whereby we said you can't wait into another region to carry out atrocity that we take lives of people. So the one was Ugo actually noticed in all this while talk about he was sick or so on and so forth. These are the lies that you cannot tell a kindergarten children. But what I've seen in that very disagreement is the hand of the big brothers called the creator of Nigeria. Because without them, without the overall from the Federal Federation, there is no way they can be able to command or to control the regional economy. Because before then, we have Michael Obama, who is also growing the economy from the eastern region, from the region, and the Buffalo from the north, and Lower from the north. But Britain does not want such economic growth to happen in that very contraction they created. So at that very point of accord, why we went on its own thing, I agreed on every terms and condition on how to the situation in Nigeria. while returns saw it as destroying their blueprint, because Britain have stated during the war via their what is it called, that the death of Biafrans cannot change British policy, their policy, which is Nigeria. At that very point of agreement on who to be the spiritual commander-in-chief and the area commander and so on and so forth, that was where they said, if this could happen, if this happened, that means our foreign policy towards this very action never benefit us anymore. And the war was advanced, because after the meeting and everything left to their region, multiple meetings were going on, like what I can bring out of what Dr. has explained. So multiple meetings were going on in the north on how to maneuver. That was the reason why we will have to take more days, you know, to that he was sick. So
because of time, could you quickly round up? Because of time.
That's what I'm going to stop. What I say in this very point is because of the experience of Britain during the Economic Warrior was the reason why they have advised not agree, because the country grown by area commander and the commander-in-chief and supreme commander of right in that area, they will not be able to control Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's a need to begin to defend, because we talked about when the Aburi Accord was, if you like, messed up by Gowon. You need to now know what happened in the East. How did they respond? Who was there? Is a property to preserve some semblance of Nigerian unity, so that his people will not get massacred. He also is aware that we don't have any weapons to defend ourselves. You see, up to then, like every region in Nigeria, you pay tax, you collect tax and pay it into the center, to Nigeria, and Nigeria then distribute it from the poor to
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, great Biafrans and lovers of freedom. This is Radio Biafra House of Service coming to you through Radio Biafra London.
And they receive back from the UN government 40%. So that's feeding and supporting Nigeria. Now, the issue is they really need help to rehabilitate their people. And this time our need, Nigeria is denying it. So Juku said, what I'm going to do at the end of the tax year, on the 31st of March, going forward, when I collect tax from the people in the eastern region, I will use it to rehabilitate their Remember, the federal government owed Eastern region £11 billion, which they have not sent to them. 11 million, and there are lots of people who are destitute. So Juku enacted, therefore, what he called the Survival Edict, starting from 1st April, to collect the money and use it to service. Now, this is important. This money collecting is not the revenue from the oil. Hey, in case people say, hey, you see, it's keeping the oil. No. The revenue from the oil by Shell, BP, and Co. pay them direct to Lagos. The Juku couldn't get access to those. So Nigerians get money from the oil. The people where the oil is manufactured that have a serious need rehabilitation, they're not going to pay it. So Juku is collecting the money, what he can, from the taxes to use it to repay, but then go on when mistake. So you can't do that. And what we're going to do is to blockade you. Can you imagine? Go on, proceed to impose a diplomatic, economic, and military blockade against the East. The war hasn't started. It's already blockading the region for trying to collect the money to the situation in Nigeria is an internal affair. That's a word Nigeria was used. Nothing to see here. It's internal affair. Internal affairs. And what did they do? Cut the telephone. They cut telex. They cut letters. So you can't even communicate. They closed the border with Cameroon. And the Cameroon council in Nnamdi was closed. So already he's putting pressure on. And to make the matter worse, the Nigerian Airways on the 4th of April was suspended. You can't fly from other part of Nigeria into the eastern region. Just because the Juku said, I'm going to collect the tax to rehabilitate my people. So there's a lot that Gowon did, literally defy and provoke the East. Okay? Now, Adebayo, Ejo, Commodore Way, and all these people, they flew to Onitsha, eastern Nigeria. Remember, they were co-conferees to make a frantic appeal to Juku not to carry out the threat or unilateral implementation of the Aburi Accord. They were begging him not to implement it unilaterally. But Juku saying, I need to do this to help my people. So Gowon added, as was pointed by Dr. Onyeka, Decree number 8 into the mix to insist on the way Nigeria dealt with the eastern region. Now, I need to share with you what other part of Nigeria at this stage we're doing. I'm going to mention Awolowo because he played a central role which led to Biafran emerging. The other region, the southern region, this is what happened. They were drawing closer together. I think we overran a bit, so this is a very critical time. In summary, Ojukwu has acted by saying, I'm going to collect the money to unilaterally carry out the plans which were unanimously decided in Aburi but not implemented, namely rehabilitating people. So, the other corners of Nigeria, by May 24th, 1967, a step was taken towards southern Nigerian solidarity. They begin to gel together the southern part of Nigeria, which consists of western region, midwestern, and eastern region. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who is the Yoruba leader. Remember, they released him from prison, and the coup plotters in 1966 January wanted him to be the president. Now, he's the Western Region delegation to the ad hoc conference. He resigned. He said he's no longer going to go to this delegation ad hoc conference. So he wrote a letter to Colonel Robert Adeyinka Adebayo, who is the military governor of Western Region, giving the reasons why he's no longer going to participate in the Nigerian Constitutional Conference. He said that one of the reasons for resigning was the documented tension between Hausa tribe in northern Nigeria and those Yoruba residents in that region. So remember, the Obas have gone there and thanked the emirs. Now we have tension between Yoruba and the northerners. He accused some federal government circles of trying to help eastern Nigeria out of the federation. So that's what Awolowo was saying. So that they would form a new federation of their own terms from among the remaining units. So that's what Awolowo saw. He said the federal government had failed in respect the consensus among the majority of the people of the West, Lagos, that the northern troops in those two territories constituted an army of occupation, and that their non-removal had reduced the territories to the status of protectorate. Now, let me explain that a little. The northern troops were supposed to leave west and go back to their region, the northern region. And the Yoruba was supposed to recruit its own military to look after and guard, but instead they're finding being threatened by the northern troops. So Awolowo was speaking of and said, these troops are still in the western region tantamount to army of occupation, which in our Buri Accord, they were supposed to move them out of west, but Gowon refused. Then Awolowo said, if you want to save the federation from complete disintegration and the constituent units from mutual destruction, we must embark now on a 4 to 5 year venture of confederalism. So this word, Ojukwu brought confederation. We're confederate. Wants to say we're confederate. Awolowo is saying, unless we pull apart and be confederates, this country are gonna, we're not going to work together. There's mutual destruction coming. So Awolowo is saying it. May 1st, the meeting of Western Nigerian leaders of thought. Now the Yoruba have to sit down and say what's going on in this country. They declared a stand on the Nigerian crisis in a 6-point resolution. This is what Yoruba people are saying. One of them stated that in view of the existing circumstances in this country, Western Nigeria will no longer participate in the work of the ad hoc committee, Nigerian Constitution Proposal. So it's no longer going to take part in any meeting to form a new constitution in Nigeria, number one. They would also comment on the program of the Supreme Military Council. They know, and they would, and would they comment? Hold on. bear with me, nor would they comment, no longer going to take that in the comments by the Supreme Military Council. There's another resolution they passed, the Europe Leaders of Thought, demand every effort should be made to keep the East, that's Eastern region, in federation on the basis which recognizes the mutual interest of all the regions, even if this means a constitutional arrangement that is looser than hitherto. And what are we saying? In order to keep the East, there has to be a looser cooperation in all the regions. Another resolution declared that in the event of any component unit seceding or being forced out of the federation, Western Nigeria should automatically become independent and sovereign. And you're following this, that if you force the East out of Nigeria, the Western Nigeria will become an independent state as well. So, addressing the conference earlier, Awolowo stated that in the face of the West, Midwest, and Lagos declared opposition to the use of force in solving Nigerian crisis, which is part of the Item 1 of the Abuja Accord, any military attack on the East could only be a war favored by the North alone. Okay? And you're following. And it says, if the true position of such a war is to preserve the unity and integrity of the federation, then these ends can be achieved by the very simple devices of implementing, for goodness sakes, the recommendations of the committee which met on August 8th, and reaffirmation a decision of military duties in Aburi. If you're going to stop a war, this is what you need to do, basically. On January 5th, 1967, as far as the extreme such demand of the East, West, Midwest, and Lagos are manifest reasonable. Then it says, essential for assuring harmonious relationship and peaceful coexistence between them and the brothers and sisters in the North. So let me just quickly summarize all this. I'm saying to you that the Awolowo and the Yoruba people are saying they see what's happening in the East. If you force and kill them and push them out of the federation, Yoruba will become also leave the federation. For it to work, they need to agree with Aburi. So, because of time, what then happened was suddenly the northern emirs, they sprang to action and said, oh, okay, because they know what Awolowo likes to hear. Because the North, he said, the North is for the North. And it's one huge area. Nobody must touch it. And we have to rule the country forever. We must have 50% of the vote. We are never going to be broken into bits. So suddenly the northern emirs and elite are saying, we're willing to divide the North up into sections, into states, provided other part of the country also can be divided. So this is music to the ear of Awolowo. He also wanted the North to be broken up so that there could be more, freedom for everybody, because they are so monolithic and they're threatening to the whole. How can you have a federation where one corner is preponderantly greater than every other sum put together? Unless you break them up into smaller units, other units don't stand a chance. So this is music to the ear of Awolowo, that the Northerners are now agreeing to having more states created. So Gowon pounced on it. Not only did he pounce on it, he bribed Awolowo and gave him the post. Remember, they weren't supposed to involve politicians or civilians for 6 months. Abuja Accord. So he now offered a post to Awolowo, who's a civilian, to be the deputy of the country's leader, to be finance minister, to literally run the federation on behalf of Gowon. So the solidarity, which was piling up in the West, Midwest, and the East, was smashed up by strategic decision by the northern emirs to carve the country up And in so doing, they weakened the solidarity that was building up in the West. So Juku, in fact, Awolowo came to Juku and to have a chat. And Juku is telling him, there's a chance we're going to break off. Awolowo said, give me 24 hours notice before you do that. While all this was going on, Awolowo and Gowon were getting closer together. So, when Ojukwu then started addressing his people, now the anger was sharing up. People are now coming out and protesting on a daily basis. Yeah? IPOB think they do protests and marches. They came, 100,000 demonstrated on this 23rd of May. I said, give us Biafra, we want to separate. They no longer Solidarity March, became liberation marches. People along the east, yeah, Enugu Stadium, 80,000 demonstrators. And the next one was in Port Harcourt, 100,000, they demonstrated. You go to Aba, 200,000 demonstrated, 60,000 Calabar. So every part of Eastern region, they were all demonstrating. And what I like about demonstration is that you don't know what they're demonstrating about. You read the placards. The placards was reading, one of them, Biafra, we hail thee. Nigeria, we nail thee. They're no longer interested. Bye-bye to Nigeria. Declare a sovereign state of Biafra now. These are what the placards are saying. So I'm just reading them out to you. Operation Amputation. Okay, and they said, and bury 2 more coffins, the Lieutenant Colonel Gowon and our Hassan Kassina. And then some of the placards says, Aba youth are ready to fight. R.I.P. Nigeria, long live Biafra. This was before declaration of Biafra. So what I'm reading out to you is the impetus, yeah? Be it in Okigwe, Yenugua, Umuahia, Abakaliki, wherever you turn in the eastern region, they are now demanding secession. All right? There is no longer any room to act other than pull away from Nigeria because they've had enough. So Ojukwu called what they call the Eastern Nigerian Consultative Assembly. This was called on the May 27th to discuss the current Nigerian crises with a view to taking decisions on the next steps which the East should take. Now, this meeting was looked upon by all Nigerians, though for different reasons, as crucial. So May 26th approached, the liberation marches in the East was going on, increasing tempo, and as a result of all those meetings, Ojukwu then told them, addressed them, said the East is now at a crossroad. I find it necessary to put all the facts before you, indicating the issues, the difficulties, and the dangers, so you can examine them fully and advise me, the governor, on the path we are to follow from now on. As usual, I can call upon you to be free, frank, and objective. So Ojukwu addressed his people and asked them, exactly what do you want? Okay? What are the crossroads? Accepting the terms of North and Gowon and thereby submit to domination by the North. B. Continue the present stalemate and drift. C. Ensuring the survival of our people by asserting our autonomy. Now, if we have no alternative to the third, that's asserting autonomy, we shall leave the door open for association with any other region in the country that accept the principles of association of autonomous units. I consider it my duty to warn that if we are compelled to take that decision, we must be prepared for a period of real sacrifice, hardship, and inconvenience. To start with, we may be without friends for a period. We may have to face the hostilities of the North acting in desperation. For a time, there may be a financial and economic difficulties. There will be the problems of external communication, of immigration, including passports, because remember, they're not a nation yet. Now, after deliberating on the matters of the 2 days, they took them 2 days, 26th and 27th, okay, the Consultative Assembly declared that in considering all the facts, this is the instruction they gave to Ojukwu, that Eastern Nigeria has always been in the forefront of the struggle for a united and prosperous Nigeria. 2, that they cherish certain inalienable rights, which include the rights of life, liberty, and property. That they demonstrated these beliefs by settling in and contributing immensely to the development of other parts of the Federation of Nigeria. That following the genocide of 1966, perpetrated against the Easterners by the Northerners, the consequent conversion of 2 million Easterners into refugees, and the remorseless and arrogant attitude of the Northerners, they painfully realized that the Federation of Nigeria has failed. That all efforts to find a practical and a just solution to the crises were frustrated at every turn by acts of bad faith on the part of Gowon. That the Federation of Nigeria had forfeited any claim to their allegiance by these acts and by economic, political, diplomatic sanctions imposed against them by the Gowon regime. So those are their concerns. They had therefore mandated His Excellency Lieutenant Kanu, military governor of Eastern Nigeria, to declare at the earliest practicable date Eastern Nigeria to be a free, sovereign, and independent state by the name and the title of the Republic of Biafra. So that is the mandate given to Ojukwu. And Ojukwu then responded. But before Ojukwu responded to declare Biafra, you never guess what happened next. Gowon decided to divide the country into mini states, 12 states, 3 from the eastern region, without asking anybody's opinion. Nobody knew where the boundaries went through or why. He carved the country up. And then, to make it worse, declared a state of emergency. And when a state of emergency is declared, it means at any short time, the government could send the troops into the area declared state of emergency. So as a result of all this, on the 30th of May, I'm told it's on a Tuesday, around 3 a.m. or so, Ojukwu brought the good news, good tidings of 14 million anxious Eastern Nigerians. At the time, there's a radio broadcast. This is what Ojukwu said. Fellow countrymen and women, you people of Eastern Nigeria, conscious of the supreme authority of Almighty God over all mankind, of your duty to yourselves and posterity, aware that you can no longer be protected in your lives and in your properties by any government based outside Eastern Nigeria. Believing that you are born free and have certain inalienable rights which can best be preserved by yourselves, unwilling to be unfree partners in any association of a political or economic nature, rejecting the authority of any person or persons other than the military governor of the Eastern Nigeria to any imposition of whatsoever kind or nature upon you, determined to dissolve all political and other ties between you and the former Federal Republic of Nigeria, prepare to enter into such association, treaty, or alliance with any sovereign state within the former Federal Republic of Nigeria and elsewhere on such terms and conditions as to observe or to subserve your common good, affirming your trust and confidence in me, having mandated me to proclaim on your behalf and in your name the Eastern Nigeria be a sovereign independent republic. Now, therefore, I, Lieutenant Kanu, Chukwemeka Odumegwu, military governor of Eastern Nigeria, by virtue of the authority and pursuant to the principles recited above, do hereby solemnly proclaim that the territory and region known as and called Eastern Nigeria, together with her continental shelf and territorial waters, shall henceforth be an independent sovereign state of the name and title of the Republic of Biafra. This proclamation was greeted, ladies and gentlemen, with wild and unrestrained jubilation all over the country by joyous crowds who thronged the streets shouting, "Hail Biafra!" School shops were closed, offices were deserted, men, women, even the university students came out in their pajamas, with shared joy and congratulate one another. So Nigeria, a federation created and destroyed by Britain, has unhappily taken a well-deserved seat among the federations that collapsed. Out of its decadence has emerged a young, virile, and amazingly promising African nation, the Republic of Biafra. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for Aburi Accord. I'm willing to answer your questions, but just savor that for a minute. That we started from Nigeria, we woke up, we were in Biafra. We thank God. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Justice. Awesome. A lot of information has been disseminated as the name Biafra Educational Awareness Dissemination. We thank you so much. Is there any question for Dr. Justice before we call it? Any questions? Dr. Tina, you want to say something?
I just wanted to add that I would like to share where we gleaned some of this information from. This book is very popular. It's called The Making of a Nation, Biafra. The authors of the book are Arthur A. Nwankwo and Samuel U. Ifejika. And the subtitle in the bottom is My People Suffer. And I would like you to get a copy, read it from cover to cover. Important that we understand what happened to us and what we are here at this point. So be here to say that there is a country instead of there is a nation instead of there was or the making of. We see making it, but I want us all to be here to say there is this country called Biafra. So we thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. There is a country called Biafra indeed. Mazi, your hand is up, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Our great lecturer. I want to ask a question. The one General Yakubu Gowon, retired, has made one last public appearance or statement or action or act. I'm not God, but I think that should be his final, that should be his legacy. The publication of a book, My Life of Service and Allegiance, where he told all the lies on earth concerning Nigeria. In my own opinion, I used to think that he was easily manipulated, but I can tell you sincerely from my heart that Gowon was then and is up till now a retarded fellow. Great lecturer, what is your opinion on what Gowon has put out in the public space? Because that book is going to live long after he has joined those he killed. That's my question. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Gowon. As a child growing up during the Biafran War, it's never been trusted by any of us anyway. Okay? You only need to look at a video of children who were flown out of Biafra during the war as the last hope of staying alive. The plane brought the roof and is flying out empty. They put children who were about to die on the floor of the plane to carry them out to places like Gabon and so on. When they got there, it took about 2 weeks of feeding before these children could stand, walk around. But when they regained their energy, they were singing. They told the people who are filming them, "I've got a gun." And it's a wooden stick shaped in a rifle. So what are you going to do with this gun? So I'm going to go and take it, Gowon. So these are children, right? You're going to use the Gowon. So it's inbuilt. And what Gowon did before the war is what we're talking about. What he did during the war, we are about to discuss, and what he did after the war, okay? So he supervised genocide before, genocide during, and genocide after. And he still have mouth to talk because the rest of the world are allowing him to get away with genocide because maybe we are not shouting high enough. I'm talking about people of Eastern origin, Eastern region. They're taking it for granted that the world were forgetting or whatever. The world know more about what happened to us than our own people. So that's why BEAD need to help to educate each and every one of us as actually what went down. So Gowon can't get away with it. He can publish his book, but there's enough evidence to rebut every single one of them. It'd be like him publishing Aburi Accord when we have a recorded version and what he says is rubbish. So people will laugh at him. So my prayer, unfortunately, started diverging from your one, is for Gowon to actually be alive the day Biafra is restored. So then all this nonsense will be wasted. All these shenanigans will be in vain. So you will actually see Biafra. This Biafra I fought is here. They returned. So that's my hope. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Excellency. Whether you have your hands up.
Yes, thank you once again, Mother Chichi. For a reason. Thank you for exposition so far, sir. I'm going to keep my question short and crisp. In the immediate aftermath of the announcement of the real contents of the bill accord by Gowon, and the thing that happened, what it led to the eventual genocide, led to program, and then the 3-year war. So I just want to ask, I don't know if you're going to have another section, another session program. But even though the authentic records were not out there, General Anko was physically present in that meeting as a mediator, I guess, and probably as an ombudsman, I believe. So what was the rule? When did they come out to make a rebuttal of his steps? Why did we Ghana as a country? I mean, you cannot answer for that, but maybe you could give us a glimpse of history into the birth, language, and positioning of Ghana as a country at that time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Ghana really tried to get Nigeria to remain one big country, like a big brother to them. But most of the people who trained, because Ghana owes so much to Nkrumah, and Nkrumah owes so much to Nnamdi Azikiwe. Nnamdi Azikiwe started his campaign to get rid of colonialism in Africa, in Ghana, by publishing newspapers in Ghana and so on. So Ghana and Nigeria is like, brothers. Now, and the military were being trained in Ghana prior to going to UK. So Ghana did everything to get Nigeria to get back to their senses. But when that failed, the end, in fact, I was, I always keep forgetting his name, the doctor that was sent during the war. Mensa, that's him. Dr. Mensa came to Biafra and went to the Nigerian side and documented the genocide. Okay? Unlike the people British sent, who stayed on the Nigerian side, said they didn't see any genocide. But Dr. Mensa from Ghana was the one who documented and said he has good reason to believe, so prima facie evidence, that the motivating factor of the genocide is the hatred of the Igbos. Yeah? Hatred of Biafrans. So that is that. Ghana was there. And just before the war ended, 1970, they went to Obasanjo and said, we're about to recognize Biafra. This is Ghana. We're about to recognize Biafra. What is his thought? So, Obasanjo told him, well, from his point of view, the war is nearly over. And it's up to them, but within a few days of that visit, the war indeed ended. So Ghana could have recognized Biafra, so would have Sierra Leone and other countries. They were all queuing up in 1970 because Nigeria had told so much lies and the world ceased to believe them and was gathering momentum. But something happened. Biafra collapsed. But that's another story. We will be telling about the war itself. We're taking it bit by bit. So thank you for that question. It's very useful. And to make matter worse, Ghanaians kicked out Nigerians during the war, if you remember. And then Nigeria returned match. And Ghana must go is a bag we all know about in 1983-84, Shagari era. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Justice. Interesting. We have a bit more lecture, at least 2 or 3 more sessions we'll be holding. So today we stopped at the Declaration of Biafra. Our next lecture series will be what happened after the declaration leading to the genocidal war against Biafrans. Because of time constraint, we'll be having every one of us say our closing remark. And when next we are coming on, we'll make sure we inform everyone early enough and get everyone ready for the next time beat on Radio Biafra. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Continue to bless and strengthen us. Can we have closing remarks from each and every one of us, please? Mazi will be starting with you. Thank you.
Biafrans, thank you once again for listening. The Aburi Accord, as we know it, was a complex task that was accomplished by those who took part. Unfortunately, its implementation did not take place. However, we shall continue to tell our story until we are free. All hail Biafra.
All hail Biafra. Insane. Mazi, please. As Chris said earlier, he wasn't feeling so strong. Pray that he gets better soon. Can we have Mother Jara, please?
Thank you, comrade. Biafrans, I thank you so much for spending this time, and especially bringing to justice for your insightful, title wisdom into these matters, and the way you are able to tell the stories so profoundly. Thank you, my co-panelists, for you. Thank you, Lady Biafra, for an opportunity, a platform to speak. I wish everyone a great evening from here. Once again, my name is Nnamdi. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mazi. Thank you, Onyenkuzi, for this very interesting lecture that Nigeria denied Biafrans. And I also send my special greeting to Radio Biafra for hosting us, for us to air our voice to the world. I want to a statement from, Peter, for after the transfiguration. He says, Master, it is good that we are here, and I don't feel like leaving. So I expect to come forward next time to educate our people, and after the program, I pray that it continues, because it's a continuous education. Thank you so much. Senator is happy for this program and will continue to be present in this very platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi. Thank you, Senegal. Can we have Mother Sophia, please?
Good evening. Thank you for all the listeners and all my comrades here. And so it was very, very interesting, and it was a very, very good learning and awareness experience. And I think it doesn't end here. Forward ever, backwards never. We had to continue and we had to go on. And I'm looking quite forward for the next round, because Biafra we get, whether the devil will like it, whether Gawan has talked all what he can, lie against us, but Biafra will come. Surely it must come, because it is Chukwu's prophecy for us to get Biafra. Not another generation, but we will get it. So thank you everybody for all the listeners that listened tonight, and all my comrades here once again. Doctor, thank you very much, Dr. Kachi. What a wonderful, intelligent move by educating our people. So comrades, have a good week and all of the best for 30th of May. We must continue.
We say we must continue. Thank you, Lola Sophie. Mazi was there, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to end by saying, for the benefit of our sister that just spoke now, I will translate in English before I say it in Igbo mother tongue. That when two people are dragging land for farming, the one who has yam seedlings will be planting. The one who has nothing will be chasing the wind. In Igbo, Abala Kana Azani, like the great artist Oliver Sadebe said, Ndi Jiji Gana Konye. Bid has come to stay. Bid is telling our story. That is very, very important. Bid is telling the Biafran story, not just the way we are saying it today. So we need more people to listen. I've always maintained, if you are a craftsman, whatever you are doing, you are a catering service, wherever you are, especially outside where we are being suffocated in our homeland. You are making like burger. Call it Biafran burger. Give it spice, give it speciality. Whatever you are doing, you are telling a story. Are you a painter? Are you an artist? You can draw. Draw things about Biafra. Draw things that speak for us. This is what BID is encouraging each and every of us to do. Draw it. Patronage will come in time. Definitely it will come. So we must keep the flame of BID flying. If you want this to understand, Japan needs to know what Nigeria has covered, destroyed, and tried. It is only BID that is unearthing it. The educational system in Nigeria have removed history. It's deliberate so that the world will not talk about it. Let us continue to hold their feet on fire and tell our story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi. That's quite interesting and well noted. Thanks for the contribution and closing remark. Dr. Tina, please, can you go ahead here?
Yes, thank you, Wada Chichi, and thank you, BID International. There are representatives from many, all over the world to do this project. BID, Great Biafrans, this gospel from BID through Radio Biafra is honorable. You cannot hold it to yourself. Please make sure you tell others about this work. This is the authentic work of digging up what happened, what really happened, so that we can understand. Last week, we encouraged you to please gather your children so that they can listen. Please tell your children about Biafra. Our hope is that our children and our children's children will continue to know that there is a nation called Biafra. So continue to listen to Radio Biafra, continue to do research on your own, continue to learn about yourself, because it behooves a human being to know who you are, who I am. I owe that to myself, and you owe that to yourself. Please make sure that you commemorate May 30th. It's coming up next weekend, this weekend on Saturday. Make sure that you gather somewhere with some people. IPOB has gathering all over the world, except in Biafra land. Biafra land will be under lock and key, and we encourage our people to stay inside and remember, because we all remember. Thank you very much, Ichi, and all my comrades here, and God bless you, great Biafrans all over the world.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Tina. We remember. Dr. Deka, please go ahead.
Thank you, our listeners, Biafra all over the world, and lovers of freedom. Without you, we wouldn't be here. This is the second edition of our series of radio program BID Team on unspoken genocide, 60 years on. Today we've discussed Aburi Accord, which was very important to have prevented the said unspoken genocide. Because I have no doubt in my mind that if we have implemented Aburi as agreed, we wouldn't have lost 5 million of our 5 million Biafrans in a senseless genocidal war. But it is what it is. What is important for us now as Biafrans is to learn our history, is to learn what happened to us, learn the lesson there, and then don't to come to a point, just like the Jewish people came to a point and said never again. So we should get to that point and said never again. And before we can say that, we need to be aware of our history, what happened to us, and then we resolve that never again that we will be killed in that manner. And the only way we can achieve that certainly is to have our independent nation, just as the Jewish people have Israel. We should also have Biafra as an independent nation, and it's going to come in our lifetime. So once more, I thank the BID team for spearheading this history And I thank most especially Justice Kachi for teaching us. That's why we call him Onyenkuzi. And finally, I thank our host, Mazi Obasi. Thank you for bring out your time to host us in this program. I urge all Biafrans to join us in the next series. It's going to be even more interesting than what you've had today. I thank you all, and God bless you.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Decker. Thank you, Mazi Obasi, for hosting us. Before as I hand up back to Dr. Justice, I want to ask a question, Doctor. In your closing remark and conclusion, can you answer this? When it comes to crime against humanity and war and cyber war against the people, because Dr. Decker mentioned the Jews, I just remembered, it is statute of limitation when it comes to war crime. Because no one accepted that genocide was committed against Biafrans. Is there, when it comes to that, is there a statute of limitation for them to answer for the war, for the genocidal war against Biafrans? Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I yield back to Dr. Justice. Thank you. Dr. Justice, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you very much, Chichi. Thank you, everyone that have contributed today, for your patience and the speed and delivery of this lecture. I apologize if it was a bit too rapid. There's so much information to offload. But I hope overall we got the idea why Aburi, I'm told it's pronounced Ebri, where the Ebri Accord became a discord. If we stopped there, that would have been okay, but it's led to millions of people being killed unnecessarily. And if that was all there is to it, you and I would not be talking. They're still being killed. Not only has the killing extended outside eastern region, it's now gone even to Gawan's own land. So he messed up, and those who advised him to do so, but the consequences, a million people have died. But unless we go in and dig out foundationally all that went down, we will never understand it. We will hear, Ojukwu blocked Aburi. Which part did Ojukwu block? He wouldn't tell you. They just talk rubbish. So it's a duty to make the research. I'm really grateful to the BEAD team. We're now beginning to appreciate the importance of reading from the source of those who were there at the time. And then you see graphically that everything that was supposed to have been understood by the planet is there, waiting for us. We have 24/7 electricity, where most of us are. So there's really no excuse. We need to dig out this information and let not just our own people, our generations and the ones yet unborn to know the true history of what happened to those in the eastern region of Nigeria, which are now called Biafrans. So I commend you to read around, and as we plan to tell you more about what happened, I'm focusing mostly on the killings, hoping that the killings will stop. And Ojukwu said, when you cross this line, you are safe. I want to be one day cross the line in Biafra, where I am safe. And believe you me, if any of you was here at the time, the day Biafra was declared and you're in Biafra land, the amount of joy and happiness that permeated everywhere. They started renaming whichever pub you have. It's a Biafran this, Biafran that, Biafran University of Nigeria, University of Biafra, please. What are you talking about? BBCR, they got there before us. Let's call it the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Hey, can you imagine? We can't call it Biafran Broadcasting Corporation because BBC got there before us. But we call ours the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Come and see ingenuity of people. So Biafra opened up the talent of her people. But 6 weeks is all they had before Nigeria invaded to come and finish us off. 6 weeks of freedom. And then that led to 30 months where they proved they have every right to live on this planet with their ingenuity, their discovery. We will discover all this. So stay tuned, because BEAD is only just getting warmed up. We're taking it step by step, and we may even revisit the things we discussed before, because there's enough information to go around. So please don't give up. Just stay focused and research. And it is possible that we're publishing these in books, so people will actually follow them. So we'll never be, obviously misled again. I'm going to finish up by playing you I played you the music of Onwuzurua. Yeah, Onwuzurua, which Rex Lawson, one of the best high life musicians at the time, played for us to calm us down. But as soon as Biafra was declared, there was a change in gear. There's a song called Hail Biafra. Let me see if I can play it and play us out. I'm not going to say any more, and I thank you all for listening. Details. So let's see if I can find Hail Biafra and play it for you. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. And God bless you all for listening. And we haven't got the date for the next hour. So we haven't got the date for the
In 2 weeks time. After 33, just give next week people to relax them the next week. Yes. 2 weeks time.
Okay, so we should now play you Biafra. Mazi, for short notice, you're able to come and help us out. That is very important. Because is anyone else? No more questions?
We'll see you next time.
Now done.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mazi. Thank you so much.
Okay. Here we go. Hail Biafra.
I'm going to be playing the Hail Biafra from this side. The sound will be better.
Biafra! Hail Biafra!
not able to please you. Let's simply declare that there is Holy Spirit directly rule and guide our military leader. Amen.
Thank you very much, Beats. And we have come to the end of this presentation. Thank you, Biafrans. Thank you, Beats team. And thank you, everyone involved, for making this program a successful one. Ndewono umochinye keke emesiano.